There's a lot of similarities, but there
Mhm.
is definitely a difference with it. And again, going from no gi to gi, I think is a harder route
Yeah.
because again, it's knowledge added that you didn't even know existed,
Mhm.
problems added that you didn't know
Right.
existed.
Yeah, and I like the one thing that like, now that I've been like learning more and keeping track of like the sport and like different things and following certain people, like how much has the sport evolved since you from the beginning? Because I know there's a lot of people like, oh, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, American Jiu-Jitsu, and
Yeah.
things like that, and they're like, well, Brazilians don't wrestle, and then Americans wrestle, and then they mix in, and like, so I've seen people call it American Jiu-Jitsu, not Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've always been curious to ask somebody that's been around, like, what do you think about how the sport has evolved and like now, like, oh, now there's a 10th planet. Now this is American Jiu-Jitsu. This is traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Like, what do you think about the sport and how's it evolved? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
So I haven't trained with too many Brazilians, like actual real deal Brazilians, to be able to give you a take on what people consider to be Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I just kind of consider it all to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to that fact, only because I haven't had, I guess, what would be separated as training under a traditional Brazilian and then training under, any grappler that's in the U.S. that has learned it, however they learned it.
Yeah.
I know that when Gracie started, it was very much a self defense thing. It was very much a more of a hardcore type of martial art.
Mm-hmm.
They teach like down knee strikes and side kicks and just
Mm-hmm.
crazy stuff and little things like that. And a lot of it was based off self defense. In fact, being under when I got my black belt, at that time I trained under, or I'm sorry, was tested under Hickson Gracie's program at the time. The guy who gave me my black belt, good friend of mine, Ahmed Diallo, he got his black belt under James Tanaka, who was also under Hickson Gracie. So there's a lot of traditional testing that went on there, and self defense was one of the biggest ones. Um, and so now you don't see a lot of those self defense techniques being taught in most schools,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm pretty sure you'd see them in some very, very classic Gracie schools.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So um, the evolution of it has become a little bit more towards the sport, which is fun. It's exciting. I know now that you're putting guys under the spotlights. You got things like ADCC out there. Um, who's number one? It's
Mm-hmm.
an entertainment. You
Yeah.
got to make it entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
And the straight self defense stuff isn't that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that entertaining.
Yeah.
And people don't attack you that way in competition.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know that sometimes they're like, oh, it's so boring. It's so boring. But like for me, like it's more like how you're saying the self-defense thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see how when it evolves and if some guys are rolling around, there's nothing happening as a sport to watch. That's why a lot of people are always saying, oh, jiu-jitsu is boring to watch because the rule set and because of this and certain things. And like from what I've seen, like even just training at 10th Planet was like a whole other system of like different things of like,
Yeah.
you can do that. Yeah, you can do that. Like,
It can be done.
yeah, it's like, well, isn't that like it's like technically it's bad to do it, but it's not illegal to do it.
Yeah.
It just like,
just because it's
but that's
frowned
just,
upon
yeah.
doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yes.
It's part of the competition.
Like I remember when Chris was teaching and we were like doing arm bars, he's like, yeah, fight this. And if they're not, you put your foot on their face and you push that.
You make
and I'm
it
like,
work.
what?
Yeah, you make
can
it
do
work.
that. Yeah, you just stop.
Yeah.
Like it's part of it.
I just went to his 3-on-3 competition where the guys from Vegas took it,
Mhm.
and very exciting group of guys. The whole tournament was exciting.
Mhm.
I think I got there. The female teams were going, and then it transitioned into the other teams that were out there, and it was super exciting. There's just a lot of stuff going on. The Vegas guys were jumping around everywhere, passing guard like it was like it was easy for them, and it was just super entertaining to be
Yeah.
out there, and that is fun to watch.
Mhm.
That stuff is very fun to watch. And I know that a lot of times people are like, well, the weight cap for the 3-man is so low.
Mhm.
That's because they don't want the big boys out there getting
Yeah.
tired after 45
Yeah.
seconds on a 10-minute match.
Mhm.
They want to keep it exciting.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that were there, they had gas tanks, man.
Yeah.
And they were just go, 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 especially those guys from Vegas.
Yeah.
Big time gas tanks, and it was just fun and exciting to watch.
Yeah. I remember when I was training over there with Chris at 10th, and that's when the whole EBI thing started
Yeah.
coming out. So there was like rule sets, and I was like, whoa, this like makes it fun.
Yeah.
It makes it fun because it takes away a lot of things that well, like there's no winner.
Yeah.
You know, with a lot of things, or there's no point system.